Hi, everybody, and welcome back to Will and Wise, the Dog Show Drive. I'm Will Alexander.
And I'm Y.
Just because.
Just because.
This week in the Dog Show Drive, we're going to talk about the do's and don'ts during the judge's exam, physical exam. We're going to go into our viewers' letter mailbag and answer a few letters we received this week with some very interesting topics. And then we're also going to talk about this week's question of the week, which is talking about accessibility for everybody at our dog shows. All that
and more
on this week's Will and Wise, the Dog Show Drive.
Canadian edition. I will.
Yeah, good weekend?
Yeah, I did actually. It wasn't bad at all.
Did you go to a dog show? I think you
did. I went to the dog show here in town. The Thunder Bay Kennel and Training Club had their show, and it was at a new location.
So how was that?
The location, it was fine. I mean, it's not a big show. Unfortunately, we don't have big shows here anymore. But it was well attended. It was a nice location. A lot of the exhibitors really liked the show site. There seemed to be plenty of room for everybody. Yeah. So, and it was held on the lovely shores of Lake Superior. So.
And you had I know some handlers from my area that traveled up there. So
yeah, Kim Wendling was up. Cody Longstaff. What's his name? I can't remember.
Cody was there, and who else was there?
Chris Downing.
Chris Downing was there.
Yep.
There was somebody else there, wasn't there?
Oh, well, Julie Pullman with Pointers.
Julie, Pointer Jules. Yeah, she was there.
Yep, she was there. So it was, so it was well attended. There was some strong competition.
It was nice to go that far. Yeah.
Yeah, strong competition for sure. So it was lovely. I came one day to go and help a young man trim his Irish setter for him.
Samuel.
Samuel helped me up. So I went and he had asked me previously to come and take a look at his dog, and I gave him some pointers and showed him a little.
A pointer? I thought he had Irish setters.
Look at you with your jokes. Yeah. So gave him a little of this, a little of that. Showed him some tips and tricks as we do. Yeah. And it was nice. So it was good. The weather was, our weather still is not great here. It's just, we get one sunny day and then like today, crap. Plus we have the overhanging smokiness from all the fires too, right?
Oh yeah, we were getting that too.
Yeah, you guys are supposed to be getting more of it. I was watching the news this morning and it's going to blow your way for sure.
Yeah, no, it was quite smoky in the sky on the weekend, and you could tell it wasn't just from weather, it was from smoke. So
yeah. So a lot of people. I had a really crazy dream though. I forgot I didn't tell you about this.
Uh-oh.
I had the weirdest dream, and I sometimes I remember my dreams, but I don't really remember my dreams, and I don't even ask me why. And I have not been watching, because I often watch Mayday, where the planes crash all the time. So for whatever reason, I'm in a parking lot in the city of Thunder Bay, and I'm right by the Fort William Gardens. And I'm in a parking lot. Two other people are in the car, and I know who they are, but I can't remember who they were, like, at the time. And all of a sudden, we hear a very loud, and you see this huge jet go over. And, we don't get jets like that anymore in Thunder Bay, but it was like a huge jet, and it looked like some airline, but I'm not going to say an airline. But anyway, and it was going over a building, and it was so low. And I just sat there and I was thinking, oh my goodness, it's going to crash in Port Arthur, which is like my side of town, but I was on the Fort William side of town. It was on and I'm like, oh my goodness, this is going to crash somewhere. And then all of a sudden, another huge jet comes through and it's like over the building. And I'm like, oh no, it's two of them. But then this jet goes straight up in the air and goes right over. And I'm like, oh my goodness. Now, real life Yvonne would have had like hit the road and I would have been running for somewhere. But Dream Yvonne sat in this car and I just watched this jet come like right at us. And then, I don't know, can you do this in your dreams? I can do this like, Yvonne, wake up. This is a terrible dream.
Sure. Yeah.
I did that. Sure. And as it was like careening into the car, I'm like, Yvonne, wake up. This is a terrible dream. And I woke up and I thought, oh, that was awful. Why would I be dreaming about stuff like that? And like I said, I have not watched Mayday in quite a while because I can't watch Mayday anytime I have to take a trip because even though I do enjoy watching it, but anyway, that was that was my weird. That was a weird
thank
dream.
you for sharing that with us.
Yes, you're welcome. But it was weird. It was super weird.
I didn't have any dream like that. So.
No. Well, had to share something.
We had the Erie Shores Kennel Club down here this weekend. Oh,
right. That's a big event.
Yeah, it was a big event again, and they have a huge international panel. I don't even want to go through them all because I'll forget some of them.
Yeah, there was lots there.
The ones I do recall because I don't want to say them all because I will forget unless I have them in front of me. But it was great to see Brett Hamilton from he's originally from Australia. Now he lives in Stockholm. Mm-hmm. It was good to see Brett. It was good to see Evelyn Gregory and David Haddock. Hadn't seen them in a long time. It was good to see both of them. Bob Dawson from Thailand now, but now he's originally from Australia. It was great to see him as well. There was just a lot of good people to see there. I don't want to carry on because I'll forget.
Like you do.
I do. I have a horrible memory. But it was a good weekend. It was a good turnout. We had pretty good weather for the days I was there. I was only there the first 3 days. I showed the first 2 days, and I came the third day to watch some of the specialties. Oh, Bonnie Threlfall was there. I watched Bonnie do the lab specialty. So yeah, it was fun. It was a fun event. I really enjoy Erie Shores. I think the Erie Shores Club and tries to really put on an event for us. And they go overboard and not overboard, but they go above and beyond trying to bring panels in for us. And sometimes it's different, sometimes it's good. But it's definitely
variety is the spice of life.
Variety is the spice of life.
Yeah.
We had 2 shout outs. We had, if you remember last week, I had 2 tote bags from the dog show, Will and Wise Dog Show Drive. And the first 2 people that said 1929 to me got the bags.
Received the tote bags?
Oh, as soon as I got there, this one young lady, she came right to me. She went, 1929, and she won the tote bag.
I'm so glad you remembered that we had this.
Yeah, Tracy Sarama was the first one, and she was so excited to get the tote bag. And then after that was Josephine Lambert. She came into the setup. She went, I have to tell you something. I said, what's that, Josephine? 1929. I'm like, so people are listening. And I don't know if my mom was on her way there, but she didn't make it in time to get the tote bag.
We might have to make a special one for Pam. Well, that's good.
So that was fun. It was fun. Yeah. You want to carry on, or do you want me to read this 6?
I'll read the first one, then you can do the second one.
Oh, okay. Go ahead. So we
got
2 emails.
Yeah, some listener emails. So Josephine Lambert, also, she emailed us and she said, hi, Will and Yvonne. I have a topic that maybe you could address that is a concern for many of us showing our dogs. Today, I went through as many others did, almost a battle royal at the Caledonia Fairgrounds for the Erie Shores Show, trying to rope off a small area to park. It was posted in the premium list and on judging schedule, no entry to the grounds until noon on Wednesday. I arrived around 12:50 and there were already a ton of people there set up. I am not talking about the reserved trailer spaces. This is for the first come, first serve, regular parking for people with pop-ups and car parking. The problem is people do not know the saying, sharing is caring. Trying to find one little space to rope off became a nightmare with people roping off 8 to 10 spaces all at once. People were so nasty to each other. I just sat in my car not believing what I was seeing. I talked to the poor show chair, Anne, who was totally overwhelmed. She was almost in tears telling me about the entitled group who basically tell her where they are setting up. Have people lost all sense of sportsmanship? It is not just inside the show ring. Sportsmanship should relate to all aspects of our sport. Have they never heard sharing is caring? Entitlement is running wild already, and this was only set up day for Erie Shores. This is not the only show things like this happen at. Maybe you could discuss in general about people at shows both indoors and outdoors, learning to share and leaving their entitled ego at the door or gate. Joe Blow's entry is just as important as mega ego person entry, and we should all be able to enjoy the same free amenities while respecting one another. It's one thing if you are paying for a campsite, but as I said, this is just for the free spaces. It was really shocking to me seeing all these people arguing. What a poor start to such a nice show. As I said, just an idea about a topic that you could maybe address in general for shows.
Well,
and we
that
could address
has been-
this.
Oh, it has become a problem, and it shows up a lot at dog shows. I remember when at the Caledon Dog Show, at the Aurora Dog Show, when they have early setup, people take advantage of their spots. It's interesting because in the I think the rules of the show giving club must provide a spot for all exhibitors. There must be a spot available for grooming for all exhibitors.
Mm-hmm.
And in America, I think I was telling you the story about the Tar Heel, where back in the day, they might still, I'm not sure they still do or not, PHA, Professional Handlers Association, used to be in charge of setup at the Tar Heel. And they were very organized about it. Like it went crates, tables, X-pens, crates, tables, X-pens, and you stacked. If you had 10 dogs and they were stackable, you stacked to make room for, and they have, back then the Tar Heel was almost $3,000 dogs a day. So they had to really be smart about how they set up. And I still remember Mark Threlfall being in charge of setup one time, and he asked me to help walk around with him, and he would condense spots, and he would say, "You people have to stack. We have a setup of 5 coming in here, and you have," and no one really argued. I don't know if it was because it was Mark, because he was president of PHA, or what they felt, but they made the space for each person, and I've seen it happen. I've seen people arguing over their spots. Like a guy saw a spot this weekend under the tent. There was a trolley, a toy trolley, one of those carpet things with an X-pen around it, and chairs under the tent.
That's ridiculous.
It was totally ridiculous. And eventually someone alerted the club. Because they left it there. That was their setup for the weekend. They left it there. They went home, and they were saving their spot under the tent. So someone alerted the club, and it wasn't. It's. We all know what it's like under those tents when it gets busy. There's no room for someone to take up 15, 20 feet of that tent. But just their setup that's just not fair. No. So they condensed it and they put it all into one spot, and nobody, when they came the next day, apparently nobody complained that somebody moved their stuff and whatnot. But I think that rule, in America, the AKC shows, they have a rule about setting up crates under tents. And if you have like Labradors, Goldens, Dobermans, where one handler might have 10 of these, they do allow you to set up your crates or your tape under during breed judging. You get 10 minutes before the breed judging and 10 minutes after the breed judging to get rid of it. Or 15
stuff.
minutes. I can't remember which one.
Yeah.
But and
that's fine.
Yes.
But
at least it's in black and white, and you know that's what you're allowed to do if that's what you have to do.
Mm-hmm.
But these trolleys that bring 10 dogs up or 5 dogs up at a time, and then they're just left there. I kind of poke fun at them and walk up to them like they're a counter and order myself a coffee or a hot dog or something. But but they do take up too much space.
Yeah.
And that's fine if you wheel them up for your judging. You can't leave it there until after group judging. If you win the variety or breed, you need to make room for it. Again, it's sharing is caring. The same thing Josephine's talking about. It's a different aspect of it. But again, to get back to what Josephine said, parking was at a minimum at this show. Like I went there and I was lucky I had a spot saved for me. And Monica has my old spot. Like
Right.
when
I
I was a
remember. Yeah.
handler, I always had a spot, a paid for spot. And when I retired, Monica took it over. And so I always have a parking spot. Like
Yeah.
and I have a place to groom my one little dog. And
Yes.
until I piss her off, I probably will have one. But
I appreciated your spot last year too, because Monica let me pull it with our two little dogs or whatever we had.
But those are all paid for spots.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of free spots. And I wasn't there setup day because I'm one of those, I don't show up until
because you have a paid spot.
Yeah, because I have a paid spot. But I wasn't there during setup day. But there's a lot of free parking there if people utilize it properly and not try to overextend their usage.
Yeah.
And take too much.
So my question is, well, it's not a question, but like, and I know volunteers are at a premium, and this would be one of the worst jobs to have. But I don't know, sometimes for a bigger club, like I don't know how big the membership of Erie Shores is, but I don't know at that time, like, is your show superintendent, should that be part of their job, is to patrol that free space and to make sure people are, sharing and caring while they set up? And I know it's like, I'm not saying that like that's the way it should be, but I know, sometimes if you do have someone actually policing the spot, then they
or at
may
least
be
in charge of the parking area.
Exactly. Like just like the CPHA was, or the PHA. Yeah.
At Old York, we hire Colin Brownlee to be in charge of setup, and Colin's very particular about it. Even when he's not in charge, he's still very particular about how everybody sets up. But he tries to condense it as much as he can. And he often came to me, or someone would, because I'm the president of Old York Kennel Club, so they would come to me and say, "We need a spot. Can you help me find a spot?" And I would have to go, and I would condense people and get them to let this person in. And at the end of each night, Colin and I would go through and try to condense the show even more, so because there's more dogs coming the next day.
Well, because there's always people that don't, like a lot of people that work, they can't enter on Friday, so they're coming on Saturday, and sometimes you can't get there for setup day. Like even I know in Thunder Bay, like our setup is at 12 noon. Well, I still work. I mean, I'm fortunate that I can, take off and go set up. But if I worked for somebody else, I wouldn't. That'd be a hard excuse to try and get out of my office and go and set up for an hour or two at a dog show. It's just not doable sometimes, right? So it is, and I understand why people want to get there early and set up, and they want to save as much space as they can, but we have to start being reasonable about the amount of space you're saving. Like you don't need a 20 by 20 area when you have one dog. I'm sorry, you just don't. And if you can tell me that you've got like 6 other dogs coming, and that's, maybe that's something else that should be put in the grooming, in the premium list, is something about grooming space in a 10 by 10 area. You're required to have a minimum of, you should have a minimum of 3 to 5 dogs or whatever, because that's the only way you're going to condense spacing. And I know a lot of clubs have gone to paid grooming, and that's all fine and dandy, but I know CKC, it's still in our bylaws that you are supposed to have grooming space available that is provided, that is not, you don't have to pay for. So
paying for it is basically just a reservation. So you reserved your spot, and that's fine. You're paying for that spot. And I don't think the problem, from what I understand, I don't think the problem was anything to do with the reserved spots. The problem was
the free space.
Free space, and I don't want to say weekend warriors, but the ones that come with, and all of a sudden they have 10 dogs to show this weekend because it's Erie Shores, so they think they can save this much spots in the free area. And like I know she talked about the elite ego and whatnot. I don't think it was the normal players that caused the problem, because I know most of the normal players, and they actually will bend over backwards to make a spot for you. even giving up spots in their own area.
Yeah.
Like young Rafa, who's a handler here as well, he was giving up spots in his area to people that needed spots. I watched him do it.
Yeah.
And he was in a paid area. So
right.
But he had that extra space and someone needed it and he let them have it. So
it's very hard. And the unfortunate thing is, like Josephine said, that it's all about, it's people's attitudes, and it's, the show season's long through the summer, folks. It's long. Having to battling every weekend to get a spot, that's not fun. And that's not, especially for new people who don't even understand that they need space to begin with. So you need to be more inviting and more accommodating for everybody.
Yeah, and we need to be that's in the whole world, the whole dog show world.
Exactly.
We need to be more accommodating to new people, or else we're not going to have new people.
And as you and I both, we've watched over the years, the new people are getting fewer and fewer.
Well, they're coming in. They don't feel welcome. So why would they come and spend their hard-earned money on a place they don't feel welcome?
When there's and we've got more competition as to other extracurricular activities to do.
There's a lot of distractions now for people. They have lots of things to do. They don't need to come to the Caledonia Fairgrounds and go to a dog show. I mean, there needs to be something that's welcoming and worthwhile. And in order to compete at a level where you are very competitive every weekend, it's a lot of work.
Yes.
If you want to come and just have fun and show your one little dog, that's different. There's two sides of it, but egos get in the way no matter what. Egos in clubs, egos in handlers, egos in judges. Egos just get in the way. Thank God I don't have an ego at all. So
it's so true, William. It's so true.
I know. Well, I'm just that guy.
Yeah, you're that guy, all right. You're that guy. Whatever. But so the long and the short of it, folks, is, well, don't be a dick, but just, this summer, and not just in the summer, but as we head inside too in the fall, everybody needs a spot. And there is generally room for everybody at a show. So if you've got a stack or crate or two, move a grooming table in a little closer, please do it. And it just makes everybody's experience much better at the dog show.
And if you see somebody new and they look lost and you are not busy at that time, maybe step up. Right. Step up and see if you can help in some way. It goes a long way. It goes a long way with these people when somebody steps up and helps in the dog show. Yep. It really does. All right.
So that's that on that.
That's that.
Next.
Okay, we did get another email. It was from Danielle Imond. Danielle wrote, "Can I add my own question for another week? I was talking with a friend with a couple of decades more experience than myself, and was wondering why are CKC and AKC not judging like FCI judges. I feel like international judges draw in more inscriptions for a reason. I love to have comments on my dogs, especially as a newbie. It's also quiets out ringside gossip and lets us evaluate if our judges actually evaluate according to the standard as they should. So yeah, how is the judging impacting everything, and should we, the CKC, consider the way judging in Canada is done? Big philosophical question and discussion, might not fit in one episode, I understand. Do you mean written critiques? Yes, she says. Apparently, also less emphasis on coat and presentation. He also told me about a dog who got placed second out of one participant, and it sounds bad, but if you're going to be eliminated at the group anyway, it's just less time wasted when you think about it. Oh, I see what's happening. Someone didn't win, got withheld, and they didn't have to stay on and compete. which is sometimes not a great indicator of quality, because out of 3 dogs in the breed, 1 dog is really just a puppy who doesn't want to be here. Yeah, Zabba, Zabba, Zabba. Not Zabba, 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 but
Yeah.
it's multiple group winners against puppies.
Yeah.
I
But
understand.
we know it's a time constraint for us in America here, in North America. Right?
Right.
So there's, I mean, we would love for it to be more that judges could do critiques, but our rules state 2.5 minutes the dog.
Right. We don't have the time. And we don't have the depth in a lot of breeds to warrant critiques. Some specialties have critiques and ask for critiques afterwards about the winners of the specialty. And that's where the judge will actually write it, and they'll put it in their newsletter, et cetera, et cetera. But as for judges like an FCI judge at Canadian dog shows, not all FCI judges do critiques, but I just think that's not feasible for us in our sport. We'd be there all day long and all night long. We're already there until 6 o'clock for most nights for a 300 dog show. Can you imagine if they had to critique 300 of those dogs? We'd be there till 9 o'clock at night. But I do understand the way Danielle is thinking, or she wants to get something out of her 2.5 minutes besides a ribbon. She'd like to know what the judge thinks and
more feedback for sure.
Yeah. And you can do that. You can ask them afterwards, and some of them will gladly answer you. Some will not. But to actually have a written critique, and it's just not feasible in our system. I know they talked about it at one point. I know
Oh, really?
Excuse me. It was brought up at the CDJA, and the same thing. Someone was saying, well, let's have 1 day a week, 1 show a weekend as a critique day.
Yeah.
I just don't see it. I just don't see it being possible. I just don't see how we could fit that into our day at the dog show.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then there'd be some of us would do a quick general critique, where somebody else might go into it for 5 minutes, and then the whole schedule is thrown off, and the day's getting even worse. It's hard. People got to remember, in the FCI events, the big FCI events, there are 10, 20 rings, and time isn't as much of a constraint, because that one judge may be only doing 3 or 4 breeds, rather where our judges are doing, sometimes they're doing 2 groups, 3 groups, sometimes they're doing the whole show. They just don't have the time. See, and I've never been to an FCI show, so do they just sit there and talk into a recorder? A lot of them do that. A lot of them just talk in their phone now, take pictures of the dogs and talk in their phone, and then they write them down afterwards for the club afterwards. I don't know. I've never competed at a FCI show like that either. I guess the World Show was the FCI show, but one day is Kasib, one day is the World Show, or the local, like, Swedish kind of club. But I've never had I've had them give ratings as they hand out the ribbons, but I've never had them do a critique.
Like 6 out of 10?
No, they'll say excellent.
10 out of 10?
No, they have excellent, very good.
Do not recommend. 1 out of 10. Do not recommend.
Thanks for coming out, but you didn't make the team well.
Yeah. And especially from like a new person's perspective, I totally understand why they want that kind of feedback, and that, either
time spent. They don't. I'm sure they don't think the 2.5 minutes is enough time,
right,
for what they've put into it. So
Well, sometimes when you're showing the dog, you're thinking, I need more than 2.5 minutes to make this look like something. Right? Same thing.
Oh, yeah. No, for sure.
And we both of us know too, sometimes the longer the dog is in the ring, the more comfortable they get, the better they start, calm down, relax. They start, they take the roach out of their back. This is going to be a good day.
Sometimes they get worse.
Well, that
They want out of there, or they're getting bored, or they're getting tired. They're getting tired of you poking and prodding at them, and then it's over.
Yeah. So, but thank you for the question, Danielle. That was that's very good.
And
Thank you for
I know
writing
we
it.
didn't have a really good answer for you there,
Yeah.
but I just think that it's just not feasible in our system to have such. Maybe if you go to your national specialty, Danielle, you'll be able to get critiques written on your dogs, but hopefully you have mentors of the shows and they can give you some good feedback on your dog as well. So
Yeah.
some unbiased feedback.
Yeah. Because it's often, you want to have people that are going to give you a truthful answer about what they think about your dog. And remember, everything is just an opinion. It's someone's opinion.
Yeah.
So
and I hate to say it, there's some people out there that don't want the truth.
No,
they don't. They see it the way it is, and they will argue. Can you imagine some of the arguments we would have if someone wrote a poor critique in front of them, and then read it out to everybody? Some of the arguments we would get into at ringside.
Right.
I
always laugh
because we're set up for such situations.
I always laugh. I have people that'll come up and they'll ask me if they should ask a certain friend of mine if should I have him go over my dog and tell me what he thinks? And I'm like, only if you want the truth. Yeah. Only if you want the truth. Because
again, it's also the truth in their eyes. So
yeah.
But when you pay a judge, you paid for their opinion, so you have to take it. Either whether you like it or not.
Yeah, whether you agree or not. That's true.
Yeah.
All right.
Anyway.
2 good questions from our
Yes, that was very good.
Listeners.
Thank you. We do have listeners out there. Neither one was from your mom or my mom. So
right.
Yeah, unless they have a alias that they're using.
Yes. All right.
Across Canada.
Yeah. Driven by Show Scene Magazine. Show Scene, where every dog takes center stage to the hands. Oh, did you see on the interweb? It was like the 10th anniversary of the musical Hamilton. If you haven't seen that, folks, go find it on the internet. It's like a mashup of all of the songs, and it's done by the original cast. It's fantastic. Fantastic. Highly recommend. 10 out of 10. Anyway, back to center stage.
I think she's seeing squirrels. Anyway. Let's carry on. Across Canada.
There were 4 shows across Canada this last weekend. First show out in Burns Lake, BC was the Lakes District Kennel Club that had a total entry of 678 shows. And that was
dogs. 678 dogs.
Remember when I said about my dips? 678 dogs across 6 shows. The previous year's entry was 852, but it also had 8 shows. So
8 shows, yeah.
Yeah, so they pretty much
stayed pretty even then.
Pretty even. And then up here in Thunder Bay, the Thunder Bay Kennel and Training Club, over the weekend in Shunya, actually, Ontario. Total entry of 502 dogs, and that's up from last year's entry from 488, and that was across, I believe, 5 shows. And
that was 5 shows?
Okay. That was 5 shows, yeah. And so up a bit from last year, so that's a good sign. And then as you, in your backyard at Erie Shores Kennel Club in Caledonia. The total entry was 1,716 dogs, and that is, I'm going to say it's probably the same as the previous year. 2024 had 2,036, but they had an extra show last year.
An extra show? I wonder.
I'm not sure where Megan found that, but
I'm not sure they have ever had an extra show. I'm not sure about that.
No. Because I remember,
it's always been Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and Thursday is specialties.
Specialties, yeah. So, and we were having a discussion as to why they have a Monday show.
Yeah, I'm not sure why. Because the entries definitely go down on Monday, not just on the written entries, but people just leave because they're tired. Yeah. They've been there for a week, it seems.
Oh yeah.
So they lose the entries that way. I guess they've still entered though. But I don't know. I guess it's become a norm. We've had some shows that have Mondays that aren't special Mondays, like a long weekend Monday. But
Mhm.
I don't, if it
I
works
don't
for
know.
them, yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
All the power to you. And then finally, our last show was South Shore Kennel Club in Lunenburg, Nova Scotia, and they had a total entry of 857 dogs, and that is well up from last
Yeah,
year.
good for them. Wow.
Yeah, from the 2024 as 506, and I believe that is across 6 shows.
I'm not sure, but that's a great leap, though. That's wonderful. It's nice to see.
Yeah, or maybe it was only across 4 shows. I can't remember. Anyhow, yeah, that was great. And so that was across Canada, brought to you by Show Scene Magazine, where every dog takes center
Center
stage.
stage.
And then we have our upcoming shows brought to us by Canuck Dogs, your source for Canadian canine event information online. So in July 18th to the 21st, we have Cross Creek, New Brunswick, Miramichi Kennel Club. And that's 6 all-breed shows, 3 obedience trials, 3 rally obedience trials. And then in Grassy, Ontario, we have the Bull Terrier Club of Canada. They have a national and a regional. And that's on July 18th and 19th. And that is a specialty show for Bull Terriers only.
National and regional. So
yeah. And then the Sporting Dog Club of BC in Langley from the 19th and 20th. They have 2 group specialty shows for Group 1 sporting dogs. And then we have
that would be fun. They get a nice entry out there at that sporting
yes,
dog
I
club.
think I did a puppy sweeps out there like long time ago. Like
they get a very nice entry and a good depth and usually good judges brought in for that event. It's fun. It's a fun event.
Yeah. And then Atlantic Terrier Association on July 20th, they also have a specialty show for Group 4.
So that goes along with Miramichi.
Yes, that does go along.
Yeah, that's the Cross Creek. That's the Cross Creek as well. So yeah, they're trying that this year to build up their terrier entry, and that they brought in some really good terrier judges for the weekend, so it'll be fun.
Oh, good.
It'll be fun, yeah.
That'll be interesting. And then we have Ontario Breeders, July 21st through the 24th, 4 all breed shows, limited breed shows for groups 1, 4, 5, and 7. And then out in Prince George, BC on July 24th through the 27th, there's 8 all breed shows, 2 obedience trials and 2 rally obedience trials. And then in Lombardy, Ontario, we have the Limestone City Kennel and Obedience Club, July 25th through the 27th. And that's 3 all breed shows and limited breed shows for groups 1, 3, and 5. I always liked going to Limestone.
Well, Limestone used to be in Kingston. And used to be part of the circuit.
Cars Valley
Limestone.
Yeah.
They started off at Cars, which is near Ottawa, and then that was such a great show in its day. And it probably is, I think it's still going, but it was a fun show. It went along with the Cars Fair, so we always looked forward to it as a kid. And then Valley was the midweek show where it was held in Lombardy, and we always used Valley to get our dogs rebathed and go out for breakfast because it was usually a late starting show. Yeah. And then we ended up at Limestone, which was always a big show held at Kingston. Back in the day, Garrett Lambert ran those shows, and they were an exciting event. Like, they were good shows.
Well, I remember a lot of there would be a lot of U.S. handlers that would come up
for that circuit. We would get
all the time.
Billy Pace would come up.
Yeah.
Anne Avery Bolus used to come up when she was still handling. It was a good set of shows. CJ Favre always came up for those shows.
Yeah, I like CJ.
They were good sets of shows. We always look forward to the Cars Valley Limestone circuit.
So back to our regular schedule program. The Lakehead Kennel Club also on July 25th through the 27th. They have 5 all breed shows. Did I mention that's kind of like my birthday weekend?
Where is that? How do you say Oliver?
It's Oliver Papoonge.
Papoonge.
Oh, you know where that show's being? We're back. We're back at the Nor'Wester Arena, home of the Stahl brothers.
Oh, there you go.
Yep.
I knew you were local there, so you should know who Oliver. You should know how to Oliver
Oliver
Papoonge.
Papoonge.
I've never heard of the town Oliver Papoonge.
Well, it's not a town. It's just the municipality of Oliver
Oh.
Papoonge, because that's just outside of Kekabeka Falls.
Quebec. Yeah.
Kekabeka Falls.
Oliver
That's-
Papoonge, Ontario. It
that's-
says Oliver Papoonge, Ontario.
I know
so
it
just
does,
assumed.
but if you mailed anything there, I'm sure it would be going to Kekabeka Falls.
Quebec Falls.
But it's right beside the Stanley, and that little area is called the Stanley.
So
Never
when you
mind.
mail something to Quebec Falls, you have to put right beside the Stanley.
No. The arena's
Hey,
right
when you're
beside-
dropping that off, yeah, it's right beside the Stanley.
Well, it is actually right beside the Kaministiquia River.
Oh. Everybody got that? So if you're mailing something to Oliver Papoonge, Ontario, make sure you follow all those rules.
Shut up.
You should.
And then finally, we're getting to Delisle, Saskatchewan, where they have the Saskatchewan Terrier Association on July 26th, and it's two specialty shows for Group 4. And then we have Muskoka District and Kennel Club on July 30th and August 1st, and that's 5 all-breed shows.
That's in Bracebridge, Ontario.
Bracebridge.
I always enjoyed going to Bracebridge, Ontario. I remember going one time with a whole rig there, and Jamie was just a youngster. And Bracebridge is north compared to where we live. Not as far north as you, but it's
Thank you.
And we have seen bears throughout Bracebridge area, but I remember this one time Jamie was there, and he was running around as we were setting up. He must have been 8 or 9, and he goes up this big dirt hill, and he's standing on top of the hill, and he's standing there like he's king of the castle. And John Griffith walked by and said, "You better be careful up there. We've seen lots of bears around there." Well, you should never seen this poor little boy's eyes pop into his head and run back to his trailer as fast as he can. And Johnny's laughing.
Johnny G.
Johnny G.
Yeah.
Man among men.
Yeah. So remember, all these are on Connect Dogs, your source for Canadian canine event information online. And just a reminder for your upcoming closings, Evangeline Kennel Club closes next Wednesday, June 11th. No, that closes this Wednesday. Oh, you'll miss that because it'll be
It closes yesterday.
Just in case you wanted to enter, Evangeline. Oops, you're too late. Same with Association Canine de la Maurice.
But you can make the shadow gay. He doesn't close until June 18th.
Next Wednesday, June 18th. Show secretary is Diana Edwards. And then you have the Portage Kennel Club, which closes tomorrow. And
June 13th, Friday.
Yep, the Friday the 13th. Ooh, Friday the 13th. I didn't realize that. Or if the limit has been reached, then the show secretary is Braylon Smith. And then we also have Vancouver Island Dog Fanciers. The closing on that is also next Wednesday, June 18th. Show secretary is Classic Show Services. And finally, Victoria City Kennel Club, closing also on June 18th. And the show secretary for that is also Classic Show Services. So that is the next closings that we need to be aware of. And now, what do we want to do?
I want to jump ahead here and I want to go back to last week's question.
Yes.
Before we get into the topic, because last week's question kind of leads us into it. Last week's question, the question of the week is brought to you by ProPlan, always advancing. Last week's question was, do you prefer a judge to finish their exam before or after looking at bites?
Mm-hmm.
And when I first started judging, I was always checking bites right away.
First. Yep.
Yeah. And then a friend of mine said, when you're judging, let's say, for example, a lab puppy, well, they don't stand still. By the time you check their mouth, they're usually on their back and you can't examine the rest of the dog. So they suggested I go over the entire dog and then go back and check the dog's mouth. And that's become the norm. If you watch judges judging, that's really become the norm. But there are some. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, for you and I both growing up, judges always check the bite first.
Check the bite
right?
first.
That was the first thing
I
they
was
did.
always taught. I think when I worked for Gary, when we had dogs that had issues showing their mouths, we didn't even give the judge a chance. We just opened their mouth as soon as they walked up. So just Get it done, get it out of the way. But I understand, like you think about Labradors and Flatco puppies, whatnot. They get too exuberant, and then by the time you tip their mouth, and they don't want some strange dude going in their mouth.
Yep.
By the time you stand them back up and go over them, it's kind of a mess. So I understand, and that's how I tend to do with it. But let's go check some of the comments.
To the comments. Well, here, Jana Jackson, breeder of German Shorthair Pointers. Please check bites at the end, especially on wiggly, exuberant young GSPs at 8 a.m.
At 8 a.m. Yes, that's a good one. Anne-Marie Kubas, friend of the show, she wrote, for a lot of dogs, it seems to go better at the end. Some of them get distracted when the judge looks at the bite and move all feet, even though you've already placed them in a stack. Yeah. It does. Most of them are after. Oh, Sarah Petrie wrote, if they are physically checking the bite at the beginning, or if they want me to show the bite to them, I prefer it at the end. My dogs generally do not care either way. There you go.
Yeah, and it is true. They're an older dog generally doesn't care, but I think it's faster. I don't know. I think it's faster now if we do it at the end myself.
Well, it's a lot
more
smoother.
Efficient.
I really think it's because you go across the dog and you come back and the dog knows you're already there and you ask for the mouth. And owners are mostly showing the bites themselves now. You get some older time judges that want to do it themselves. But because of health concerns, we've all been taught now to let the owners do it themselves. Marie Larocque, she wrote, my dog is okay either way.
Pam Brett Summers, she just said, doesn't matter to me. If I had a dog who is a little head shy, I would prefer it after, but I don't have one. But I don't have one like that. But yeah, a lot of people prefer it afterwards. We
didn't get a lot that were before. But Josie O'Reilly wrote before, but especially on puppies, which contradicts what we spoke about earlier.
Do we know what type of puppies?
No, we don't know.
Because I think sometimes toy puppies are like a little bit different in mindset as far as not being like they're wiggly, but they're not the same kind of wiggly because you can. It's
an individual thing, of course.
Yeah.
That sort of brings us to this week's topic, which is brought to us by Canadian Dog Fancier, a weekly summary of purebred dog events across North America. So we're just going to talk about preparing yourself for the judge's exam. Because a lot of people make a mistake during the exam. And it's only because they see mistakes being made by professionals or other handlers, and they try to emulate them, and their dogs aren't ready for it. The one I find the most that people tend to do in my group, sporting group,
not available right now.
They tend to move around to the front and hold the ears up, and try to extend the neck 2 more feet. And that's fine if you've got a dog that's been showing for 2 years and they're a veteran show dog, not veteran in age, but an experienced show dog. But when you have a young dog and you cover up their head with the ears and move in front, right away, to me, it sends a signal to that dog that, well, dad or mom just moved, so I get to move. I was always taught to be your dog's security. Yeah. Stay in one spot. If it's a dog that you hold the head and tail, I hold the head and tail the entire time the exam's being done. So the dog knows I'm there for them. You let go, and then some strange person is going, a lot of dogs are fine, but some dogs are not ready for it, and they're not mentally ready for that part of that exam. So they need you to be their security.
Yeah, for sure. And even dogs that are used to being shown, but if you have a female, her first season, and if you happen to be showing her, or even not necessarily even her first season, as we all know, bitches can be strange when they are in season, so they may need a little extra comfort so that, those times where you don't have to be as solid behind them, you may have to be at this point in time just because they need that little extra bit of security. So, and telling a judge too that, you have a female.
Most definitely tell a judge.
That your female's in season because, a lot of them don't want you hanging around back there to begin with, or they want to snap their tail down, or, stuff like that. So if you give the judge that information, then the judge will move accordingly. Like, I'm not about
We
to
would hope, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not about to, sit there and, tug on a tail or whatever if, you have a female in season and stuff like that. And it's common courtesy too, to warn the judge that
To warn the judge what's coming back there.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
yes.
but people forget that just getting through the exam is not really showing your dog. Like most judges don't judge
on the
a
exam.
dog through the exam.
Yeah.
They're going through the exam because that they have to. They have to touch things and touch the testicles, check the mouth, they have to. That's part of what they were taught to do by the CKC or AKC. But rarely is a dog being judged. Like a toy dog is not judged on the table. It's examined on the table and judged on the ground.
Yeah.
And that's the same even with sporting dogs. They're examined, but they're not really being judged at that moment. They're going through the particulars of the examination. More the exam. For me, I like to watch dogs do things themselves to see. Yeah. That's how I like to judge them, and that might get in the way of some handlers. But I like a dog that's well handled too, because it's easier to judge a well handled dog. But don't get in the way of your dog. So many people feel they have to get in the way and manipulate their dog to do things. Let them. They're usually smarter than we are about their own balance. Mm-hmm. Let them decide. Yeah. You be the director, not the corrector.
Right. So and it's so true, because, you have some people, well, he always moves his feet. He always moves his, I try to set up his back leg and he always moves it. Well, your dog is trying to tell you something. You're somewhere else in your stack is incorrect. And so
you've done something wrong. They're not comfortable.
Yeah. Right. So you have to figure out how to correct it so that they are standing on all four the way they should be.
And a good judge is not going to beat your dog because it stepped out of its stack. It's not going to happen.
Exactly. So. And then when you were saying about how, holding their ears up, and if you move to the front, that's also something that you need to train. You need to practice that before. You can't just throw something new at them while you're in the ring. Like you have to let them. I always tell people it's your routine. Get a routine so that when you're nervous as well, you have your routine and it becomes second nature to do that. And when you keep your dog in the routine, they're more comfortable, through the examination.
When they follow a structure.
Yeah.
But how many times have we seen newer handlers, young handlers put leads on the bottom and hold their dog's head up, and they are all walking sideways because they've seen professionals do that.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I saw a professional put the lead there, so that's where it should. Wow. No, the only times as a judge, I've stopped handlers, they're down and back, and say, put the collar on top of his head so I can see him go down and back properly, please.
Yeah.
Instead of chewing at your hand and walking sideways and.
Exactly. What not to do.
Most dogs, if you listen to them, they're going to guide you in the right direction.
Yeah.
You might need to be their director and point them in the right direction, but let them do things themselves. Yeah. It's so easy to pick on a dog that's being manipulated because we can see it. And the manipulation, dogs aren't comfortable. You may think you're doing something right. Well, you're not, because you saw somebody do it. That person might be trained to do that differently than you. Let your dog do the work. Dogs are smart.
They are smarter than the average bear.
Oh, there's no question. And like, it's funny because I still remember a lot especially when I was younger, judges that would, back when they could still talk to you, right? And they would tell you, do this, do that, do this, do that, without you being offended. They would tell you to hold the dog's tail, hold your dog's head, point your dog in the right direction.
The number of handling lessons that I received from Ed Bivin, Eugene Blake, those two, Ed Bivin especially, but as we know, if you're being given a lesson, that means he really likes your dog, so stop screwing up your dog.
Exactly. Wants to see the dog shown properly.
I showed a lot of Irish setters to him, and I always used to stay down low, and there was one or two. He's like, get up, stand on your feet, stand on your feet. And I'm like, okay. And that's just because
the weights and balances are different, right?
Exactly. And if for most people that know me, I'm not a statuesque type of person. I'm pretty short. So if I have a big male Irish setter that I'm like, I can barely see over, you stand up. Okay, I shall, Mr. Bibbin. Thank you very much.
The biggest advice I can give most people for dog shows is to go early, go and watch your ring and watch exactly what patterns your judge asks for and how they run their ring. So you don't just walk in there blind, and then it doesn't matter who the judge is. 2:00 in the afternoon, the pouring rain and it's really hot, they're getting irritable.
Right.
And if they've been doing the same thing since 8 a.m. and you walk in the ring and you don't know that pattern, it's your fault. And you can say, well, I'm new. Did you just get
not
here?
At 2:00? Not at 2:00. You're not new. At 8 a.m., but at 8 a.m., that judge is also way more amiable. Thank you.
Amiable.
At 8 a.m. to someone who's new and doesn't know. And as long as you listen and pay attention. And I think that's another thing, like another key point. Listen and pay attention to the judge. And if you can't hear them, just ask them to repeat themselves. They'll be fine. At 8 a.m., they'll be fine. But at 2 p.m., in the blistering heat,
just go early. Leave your dog in the air conditioner and go watch and see exactly how your judge runs their ring, where they do the exam, even how they do the exam, because sometimes that tells you how you should be presenting your dog, how they examine a dog. So you're prepared, so you're ready for anything. Forewarned is forearmed. Always.
Exactly. Yes. How are we doing on time here, Mr. Alexander?
I think we better. We're getting close there, Whitey. We have one last thing, though.
What do we do? What's that?
The question of the week.
Oh, the question of the week, brought to you by Pro Plan. Fuel the champion in your dog. So, do you want to read the question?
The question of the week is: what measures should the Canadian Kennel Club and event organizers implement at show venues to enable accessibility for all participants and spectators?
Mm-hmm.
Do we understand the question?
Yes, because this was brought up actually because of the Thunder. Well, we were discussing because of the Thunder Bay site. There is an incline to get up to the ring level. And we were discussing the fact that if you had a disability of some sort, that would hinder you from actually making it up to the ring if you couldn't get there on your, own two legs or whatever. But seriously, I know I'm not PC, but that's, and then we were starting to think about other show sites and how are they actually accessible to,
some disabilities. Yes, of course.
To disabilities.
Because we have the people that attend dog shows are from a huge
wide
range of people, and let's face it, we have to accommodate everybody. I'd like our sport to accommodate everybody and make sure they're comfortable and have fun at our dog shows.
Yeah, and that's the other thing, making sure they're comfortable. It's one thing is to be to be able to get there, but if you've spent all your energy just getting there.
Even as far as parking, I know in a lot of American shows they have roped off areas for handicap parking, and there's grooming there as well if you are showing your dogs. Mm-hmm. So it's just closer to the ring with less work for them to get to where they have to go. So
exactly. Yep.
So
that's the question.
That question.
Yeah. So give us your thoughts and if you have any other comments about it, if you've seen how other clubs have handled it, or et cetera, let us know.
Or you've seen situations that shows that you think we need to be made aware of. Please send in your information or send in your emails and with anything. It doesn't have to be a question. Could be something you add to the show from an experience you yourself have been through. Yeah. Because that will help people learn. And that's what we're here for. We're here to help people learn, Yvonne.
We are. We're help us help you.
Help you.
Well, we don't have time for Kennel and Bench this week, but I'm telling you now, folks, we've got a whole bunch of great Kennel and Bench excerpts that we're going to go through.
Oh, one is really interesting. I can't wait till we get to it. So that'll be fun.
So,
all right. Take us away, Yvonne.
All right, everybody that's driving to a show or flying to a show or
I forgot one more thing. I know. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
This news just because we record this on Tuesdays, and it is released on Thursdays. Tuesday this morning, there was a note across the dog show line that we lost Jackie Stacy today.
Yes,
Tuesday morning, we lost Jackie Tuesday, and she was a long battle, and she was a wonderful, wonderful dog judge. And she bred some amazing dogs, and she and Terry dedicated their entire life to our sport.
Yes,
and she will be sorely missed, Jackie Stacy.
Condolences out to Terry and their family for sure.
Yes.
All right.
Now you can take us away.
Okay. Everyone driving to a show, stay safe, seatbelts on, glasses on. Till next week, guys.
Head Over Heels, written by Jim Cuddy and Greg Keeler, and performed by Blue Rodeo. Is that long enough, Doc?
Yeah, really?